Hello, all, and welcome to Getting Comfortable. This is a UCCS student-led podcast dedicated to unpacking the relationship between Islam and the West, where no one is an expert. This episode 0 is an introduction episode, and we'll explain what this podcast will be about and introduce you to all the lovely people that are involved in this process so that you, the listener, will be familiar with who is speaking on each episode. All right, so my name's Amanda. I'm going to moderate this first little episode here, and I am one of the students that will be engaging in this material and the podcast. Why am I the moderator? It's because I'm the big mouth who suggested creating a podcast as an alternative form of understanding and conceptualizing the content for this course. Last semester, I had a teacher that offered what she called an essay, and allowed for her students to demonstrate the knowledge they gained in a form of a creative outlet instead of writing a final paper. For me, I am more of an external processor, so writing can be daunting, overwhelming, and just having an option of another form of learning was quite a relief. So when I suggested this in the beginning of the semester, our teacher, Dr. Carole Woodall, showed immediate support and interest, even though podcasting was not in her wheelhouse. And this is how this project was formed. It's been a collaborative effort from all the students, and we are excited to enter a space that is fairly new to all of us. All right, so before we get into the content of what will be discussed for the podcast, let's hear a little bit from each collaborator that will be a part of it. The first production team is going to be me and Kat, so I'll start us off. My name's Amanda, like I said. And I'm a junior at UCCS, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, and I am a double major in history and women's and ethnic studies. I signed up for this course not only because it's a part of my global history requirement, but because I'm also interested in deepening my knowledge of what we call the region we call Middle East, Islam, and ways that the West has been involved in the affairs of this region. I'm teamed up with Kat, who I have been lucky enough to have a class with last semester and 2 classes this semester. So Kat, what year are you in at UCCS? What's your major? Why are you taking this course? And how do you feel about creating a podcast?
Yes. So hi, guys. I'm Kat, and I'm a history major in my junior year at UCCS. As for why I'm taking this course, about 2 days before the semester started, another history course I was in got canceled, so I had to scramble really quickly for a replacement. Luckily, this course still had open spots, so I saw it and I signed up right away. Although it wasn't my initial choice, I am really glad I ended up taking it. I had some background knowledge and positive exposure on the topic from growing up in Houston, where many of my friends and neighbors were Muslim, Arab, or both. And then as for how I feel about doing a podcast, it's definitely something I've never done before, but our in-person class dynamics and easy conversations make me a lot more comfortable approaching it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be your partner. I think we've been having fun doing some outlines and things like that. All right. So the next production team is production team 2, and I'm happy to introduce Matt and Sierra. We'll actually start off with Sierra. So same questions. What year are you in at UCCS? What's your major and why are you taking this course? How do you feel about creating a podcast?
Okay, so like Amanda said, my name is Sierra. I'm a senior in my last semester at UCCS, so I'm graduating soon. I am a women's and ethnic studies major with a minor in sustainability. And I took this course mostly because it was a little bit different than anything else that I was offered for this semester. It combines my major, women's and ethnic studies, with history, which is not something that I was usually engaging in throughout my time at UCCS. So I was excited for something different, and it's been awesome. And then for the podcast, it's been a good experience. I'm really excited to see where it goes, and I feel like we're really breaking some very typical structures. So yeah, I'm just really excited.
Yes, all about dismantling hierarchies. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you're a West major as well. And the courses here at UCCS really have incredible content. So how exciting. And I think you did say you're graduating. So you're graduating soon. So exciting. Okay, Matt, same questions. I'll just go over them a couple more times. What year are you at UCCS? What is your major? Why are you taking this course? And how do you feel about creating a podcast?
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm a junior at UCCS. I am a history and education major. The reason I took this class, I still don't know very much about Islamic culture and the religion of Islam. That's been I identified that as a large gap in my studies and knowledge. And what I had been taught in my time in college was mainly focused on military history and the relations between Europe and the Middle East, what we call the Middle East, specifically like the conquests and the Crusades and things like that. And I just wanted a different perspective as far as how I feel about doing this podcast. It's been an interesting experience, and so far, and I feel apprehensive, but not anxious about it. It's a great experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that everyone was a little anxious to start for sure in, what is this going to look like? So I'm happy to hear that you're not as anxious anymore. Alrighty. So production team 3 is Raisya and Isabella. They do have a third group member, Alyssa, joining them, but she is going to be a background collaborator and will not be a part of the recording. So Raisya, same questions. What year are you in at UCCS? What's your major? Why are you taking the course? And how do you feel about the podcast and creating it?
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Raisya. I am a sophomore majoring in nursing. I am actually taking this class as a minor. My minor is, in fact, Women and Ethnic Studies. I may be in like the different complete realm of the sciences, but I really wanted to keep the sociology aspect close to me, and that's why I'm one of the reasons why I'm taking this class. As a Muslim and a student, I wanted to learn more about Islamic history and the life after Prophet Muhammad, may have pieces on him. And I just want to know like how Islam came to be after his life and how we are the way we are today, how society is the way it is today. And another reason for me is like, because why not comes to my mind, because I don't know when the next time in Islam, a course on Islam is going to be offered, especially at a university. And for the podcast, I was really fascinated by the idea. We are all so used to the traditional way of making essays, but I feel like this was like how we kind of break that barrier, like Sierra mentioned. And it just makes us become more collaborative and colorful discussion. Podcast allows for everyone's opinions and thoughts to be open, which contributes a lot to my learning. I am someone who learns through discussion where we can listen to everyone's perspectives, and which I believe is a very active process.
Yes, I absolutely love discussions. I can say it all, and then sometimes it just blocks when I go to write it. So thank you so much for sharing. I agree with a ton of things you said. All right, Isabella, you are up next. Do you need me to repeat the questions? Would you like me to? Okay, you got it. All right, great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Isabella Arsenault. I'm a senior psychology major here at UCCS, and this is my last semester. I actually signed up for this class thinking it was solely a women's and ethnic studies course, but I've actually come to love the connection with history and seeing its importance in this region and in Islam. It started as a challenging class, but with the support of my classmates and our wonderful teacher, it's been a wonderful, knowledge-filled experience. I decided to take this class to kind of broaden my cultural knowledge of Islam and the area known and discussed as the Middle East. It really was something I felt like my knowledge was lacking in. And as a psychology major, I know it's incredibly important to be culturally aware and informed. So that's why I took this class. I'm very excited to create a podcast because I love to talk, and I really find that discussion with others is a lot better for my knowledge production rather than traditional forms of learning, such as essays, tests, assignments, stuff like that. My discussions with my partner, Raisya, have been really helpful, and she has so much knowledge to offer. So I really appreciate working with her, and I've learned so much already. Very excited for this journey.
Awesome, Isabella. Thank you for your such fun enthusiasm. Congratulations on graduating soon. And I really love how you are taking this class to enhance your cultural knowledge as the psychology major. I think that's awesome. And I kind of want everyone to do that. So great job. Alrighty. So we have Jayda and Kerry as our production team for Jayda. My dear, would you like me to repeat the questions?
I think I'm good to just jump into them.
All right.
So hi, I'm Jayda. I am a sophomore here at UCCS, and I am a history major. As for why I'm taking this class, I've taken a couple classes with Dr. Woodall before, and I really love the different approaches that she takes to her classes, both in teaching them and how she encourages students to take a very active role in learning. So that's a lot of the reason why I signed up, and I've taken a couple classes and just love the subject matter. As for how I feel about creating a podcast, it definitely is. It makes me nervous in a good way, not the kind of nervous that shuts you down, but just makes me nervous because I think there's a lot of vulnerability in attaching your voice to something. But I do think that it is very necessary and very empowering to become more comfortable in not only attaching your name to something, but attaching your voice to it as well. So, yeah.
Okay, I love the vulnerability. It's one of my favorite things. It really does lead to connection, which I think is a kind of common theme that we're all noticing right now. Also, I love that because we're recording on Zoom, I can see your cute little kitty cat, and the tail is just like perfectly smoothly moving. So that's pretty amazing. Alrighty, Kerry, we would love to hear from you. What are your answers to my questions?
Hey, Amanda. So my name is Kerry. I'm a senior here at UCCS. Full disclosure, I signed up for this course just because I needed it for my major. It wasn't something that I had a particular interest in or had a burning desire to learn more about. But that being said, I'm really glad I'm in this course. It's been super informative and a very eye-opening experience for me. As for doing a podcast, I definitely agree with Jayda. There's a lot of vulnerability in it. And I also think there's a lot of responsibility in putting your ideas out to the world. We're not just writing essays that are going to be read by our professor and our TA, and that's it. We're doing a podcast that, is open up to, the sky's the limit, I guess. So I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes to attaching our voice to it. And again, that makes me a little bit nervous because I do think it is going to be a lot of work, but I also think that it's going to be a very rewarding experience.
Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, I agree. We do, and that's why as collectively we came up with the tagline, we're not experts here. And that is to set that context of, hey, we do want to be responsible with our words. We are putting out content and we are humans and we're still learning. So that's why we have Dr. Woodall and her TA, Andrew, looking over everything and making sure we got things. Okay, so last production team, we have Nick and Isaac. And so let's hear from them. Nick.
Yeah, there we go. So yes, I am a junior here at UCCS, and I'm a history major. Really the main motivator or impetus for taking this course, there were multiple parts at play. So I'm sort of East Asia, or my focus historically is on more contemporary affairs in East Asia. And I think the development of a more pan-historical sort of knowledge base is pretty useful, both for an engagement in sort of, what I'm very interested in, but also just have that wider understanding. And also, imperialism, colonialism in East Asia, a lot of that, the was felt throughout the world. So getting that additional perspective was definitely quite helpful. I felt quite nice. So I elected to take the course. And the podcasting as a medium, definitely a bit apprehensive. That vulnerability is always something to you deal with. So that interrogation or deconstruction of the existing sort of classroom pedagogical space with this much more egalitarian interaction with all of us engaging in this very communal sense, that's been really, really awesome. And getting to hear, the very unique voices and frames of references from, all of our collaborators here have been, it's been pretty awesome. So yeah.
Thank you, Nick. I love all the insight you bring to class, all the knowledge that you bring. And I can always count that you're going to say very nice, complex words and sentences. And it's something, that I strive to include in my vocabulary. So thank you. All right. Last but totally not least, we've got Isaac. Isaac, talk to me.
Hey everyone, I am Isaac. I'm a senior at UCCS in history. I'm just a few weeks from graduating, so pretty exciting on that. Why I'm taking this class, I mostly have focused on early colonial America throughout my kind of time at UCCS. So I've been interested and curious in expanding my horizons, understanding more of other cultures, and I have definitely experienced that. It's definitely been a lot of growth and a lot of interesting things from this class. And I'm excited. I've been excited about this class for a while now. In terms of the podcast, I'm excited about that as well. I've done some similar stuff in the past with other professors, and I think it's a great alternative to passing along or presenting information to academia and non-academia alike. I think it's a really great way to, just tell people about history rather than letting them read our writings, and that's that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Isaac. Congratulations on graduating soon. I think I can't remember who said it, but, only our teachers tend to read our papers. So we really don't have the option of sharing the knowledge that we're learning, taking in, digesting. We don't have a way of sharing that with others besides maybe our, family members, partners, friends, all that. Sometimes they're kind of tired of hearing certain things. So it's nice to put this on a medium where we can share that. All right. Well, that's that. We have, this is us. We're 5 groups of baby podcasters ready to lead with curiosity while we unpack new concepts, analyze content provided to us throughout this course, and discuss our various learning approaches. Now we come to the introduction of our wonderful teacher, our wonderful professor, Dr. Carole Woodall, who absolutely just dove headfirst into this suggestion of a project, and she really hasn't listened to many podcasts, if any at all. So this was completely new to her, and I super appreciate, and I believe all of our group really appreciates her willingness to step into something completely unknown. So, Dr. Woodall, got a couple questions for you. First, what was your intention with a course designed with the title Islam in the West?
Okay, well, hello. When thinking about Islam in the West, in terms of how it was actually conceived, it was a course title that I was given to teach when I was still completing my doctoral work at New York University in the Joint Program for History and Middle East and Islamic Studies. And I started teaching Islam in the West, or I started teaching at UCCS in 2008. And so over a 15-year period, this course has gone through a huge transformation, which basically sort of encapsulates how I think about syllabi. Syllabi to me are not necessarily something that end up becoming curated and then regurgitated in another iteration with another group of students. The one thing that I can't ever actually account for are the groups of students that I'm actually going to be engaging with. And so one thing that I think this entire group of baby podcasters and myself as a baby podcaster listener is thinking about is going back to that word vulnerability. Like, how does vulnerability becomes a space of transformation, not only for students, but also for myself as an educator? Also, what is the process by which students become accountable to their own learning? And in the process, how do they become empowered by that process? And that process is something that is dialogical. It's not about sort of thinking about this language of Paulo Freire, who was a Brazilian educator who wrote a really seminal text called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Students, to me, are not vessels that I am supposed to provide information for. They need to be part of a collaborative and dynamic process that also helps with curricular development. Now, never in my entire history of teaching this course have I had the opportunity to actually think about what collaborative curricular development might look like with students. Because for the most part, the emphasis has been directed towards what is very formal, which is essay writing. And how does essay writing become the space of thinking about empowerment and vulnerability and accountability? And this has actually taken it to a whole new level. So Islam in the West, in terms of how I conceived it, was never along the lines of something that Matthew ended up mentioning. Well, I haven't learned a lot about Islamic culture, because that is not actually how this course was designed. The course was designed around asking students to question the ways in which we learn a topic, the ways in which subject matter becomes objects of study. And so there, the structure of this course has a very clear sort of narrative arc that becomes clear when students are taking the material and thinking about it each week. And sort of the height of our engagement actually focuses around the 8th week, which is our reading and engagement with Edward Said's Orientalism from 1978. And then the logic becomes very clear in terms of conceptual structure of the course.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful, amazing answer. So what are your, we're in the process of still, recording and doing some rough drafts and stuff like that. So what are a couple takeaways that you have so far from the process of being introduced to a podcast in general, and then hearing us start to talk about our learning process with the content?
The podcast, when Amanda ended up mentioning it, was not anything that I could have envisioned as being an assignment through the lens of producing the information that is scripted onto this document called a syllabus. And given the conceptual drive of the course content, Islam in the West, in which we're supposed to be thinking and unpacking constantly why there happens to be a relationship between two abstract nouns that actually don't historically make sense in some ways. How do you have a relationship between an undesignated geographical region as well as a religion? It provides a narrative arc. And so when you, Amanda, ended up mentioning podcast, I immediately thought, oh, yes, that makes sense. And then it was the chorus of enthusiasm from all of your colleagues that put me in the position of, I'm going to respond to this. And I do not necessarily know where this is going to take me. And I'm going to be doing a lot of work in addition. And we are all going to be doing a lot of work in addition, thinking about a podcast production. And so I have welcomed it. It goes back to that space of vulnerability. Vulnerability is a site of transformation.
Absolutely. Brene Brown's one of my favorite authors, and she talks a lot about vulnerability and connection and absolutely transformation. The process. I mean, I have listened to podcasts for years. In fact, I feel like I'm not in tune with newer music because I just listen to podcasts. So that modality is very, I'm used to. And with that being said, I really had no ins and outs of the production part of it. So I'm very excited that we're doing this. Okay, one last thing. We are going to be talking about Padlet exercises in our episodes because this is one of the ways that we all kind of communicate with each other and discuss things. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about the Padlet exercises? How did that come about for you? What is your intention with us engaging in them?
Okay, so Padlet is actually an online platform. It's a technological platform that actually reproduces a whiteboard. So in short, you can actually see students making posts live and in time that actually creates an archival document of their engagement. I ended up using Padlet when we had to switch because of COVID, and we were all of a sudden thinking about online learning. And even though through UCCS, they actually have licensed Canvas as a pedagogical platform that all instructors actually use, the only means of, at that point, of getting students to do some kind of engaged approach is the discussion board, which I very early learned that was actually not an effective form of engagement. And so that's when I very quickly in the fall of 2020 started using Padlet. And so now at this point, this is a very strong tool that I employ for in-person classrooms as well as synchronous online as well as asynchronous.
Yeah, it's been really fun to engage in the Padlet exercises. We had Kat and Raisya start us off with some footnotes with it, which I think intimidated a bunch of us in the class. But you told us you really want this to be about our thoughts. You want this to be about discussion. So it's not, meant to be too overly structured if that's not what's coming out for you.
Yeah, I think like by the second week of class, in terms of how this actually happened organically, is by the second week of class, the Padlet writing that the students had been doing were so detailed, they were so comprehensive, they engaged with footnotes, they were intelligent and analytical, and it became very clear that I actually was working with 10 magic students. And by the fourth week of class, it became clear that writing traditional essays was not necessarily a very good outcome to demonstrate their learning. And that's when it opened up into, okay, we need to think collaboratively about what this kind of output might look like. And that's when you raised your voice and said podcast. And I think this has become a really amazing modality of learning.
It has. It's been really fun. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing some insight into the class and how you're feeling about everything. I also do want to touch base with our TA, Andrew Belay. So I have a little question for you as a former student of Dr. Woodall's. How does this new structure of podcasting versus writing papers feel for you? Do you think this will be as valuable as the writing has been in previous courses?
Well, when you're working with Dr. Woodall, one thing is for sure, and that's nothing's for sure. I've worked with her for a few years now, so I knew taking this TA position that it was going to be a little different than your standard TA, grade some papers, help some people, with their Chicago style formatting. So I came into this expecting something a little bit different, but this is certainly way off the beaten path of even what I could possibly conceive of. And I think the thing that is invigorated me from the beginning, from the very first class, before even this podcast idea was brought up, was how much more engaged and understanding this class was than when I went through this class. We really struggled with a lot of the material, and we're not even really able to get the depth of knowledge that this particular class has shown right from the beginning. I feel like my class was sort of on the back foot as we started, as opposed to having a really good base of knowledge. And when I took this class, we were also all a little bit older, mostly non-traditional students, a lot of military folks like myself who'd sort of been around the world and been in the part of the world that we're discussing in this class. So it's just interesting to see this class, which is a little bit younger, a little more traditional students, and coming up with this idea by yourselves and sort of cultivating it. And I just can't wait to see all the finished products, because I know you guys are going to knock it out of the park, and it's really going to show a different style of learning. And it remains to be seen if this is going to be an effective style of learning or not. We have to wait until the end to sort of figure it out. And that's the beauty of this project, is how unpredictable it is. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing what this whole class and all these amazing groups come up with.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I am also a non-traditional student, and even just the first couple weeks of the readings and engaging with the content, I was like, wow, this is a lot, like in a good way. And do I understand a lot of this? So that was really, I'm not saying it was selfish, but it kind of was. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to easily be able to engage in this just through writing, because, as I stated before, I definitely tend to overthink my writing and then it won't come out at all. So truly, this has really been fun. And I'm super excited that pretty much everyone was on board. So I was nervous that everyone's going to be like, podcast, what? All right. So that's it. This is our icebreaker episode. We wanted to introduce all of us students to you, the listener, as well as our professor and our TA, so that you can get to know who we are, and know that there will be different voices each episode as we impact the content that has been provided to us. So we will introduce ourselves in the beginning of the episodes, and that way you know who you're listening to. And we're excited to bring this information to y'all, and feel free to leave comments, ask questions, and, we'll try our best to answer them. So tune in for our first episode. Episode 1 is going to be on unmapping assumptions of a region with Jayda and Kerry. And we'll see you soon. All right, bye.